पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन प्रतितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे तुल्यारविन्दाय तपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवैत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुते नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं तं चाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वाणी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैर्गणमती कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलम् टीकार्थगण्डोत्कटम् नानाख्यानगकेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनामोहितम्। लोके सज्जन षट्पदैर्हरः देवीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारतपङ्कजं तरिमलः प्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः शृण्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ज्ञानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। गुरुब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्।
We are now in chapter 9. Just recap the themes that we've covered. So the first 3 verses sees Lord Krishna telling Arjuna that I will now give you this knowledge which is very profound, which is secret, and having known that, there is nothing else to be known. So it's talking about the glory of the knowledge that he's going to talk about, which is basically what we saw as para and apara in this sentence. And then from verse 4 all the way up to verse 10, he describes the para-prakriti portion, which is basically Brahman, with his various characteristics. This is the one that Supriya and Bhagi had circulated. And Radhika ji was supposed to do some work on it. Are you ready to talk about it?
I talked about what?
The attributes of Brahman, and is there something that we can use in our personal lives?
Um, in general, I just wanted to say, like,
Okay.
when he says about Sarva Vyapi, so he's everywhere, so we don't have to feel guilty of going to a particular place and thinking about God or praying to God. We can sit wherever, because the very breath is Brahman. I mean, he's all pervading. So that is what I feel as a practical example from that we can take when Lord Krishna himself says that. And after, one more thing was about that Paramarthika Satyam. What I thought would be taken as a real life example is, here we are saying that the Maya and all can be considered, it is Mithya at the highest level. So holding my grudges and all that, I feel it doesn't make sense at all, because after all, if you think from a big picture, there is so just let go and take on. I mean, that would be one takeaway from that, which I feel. I mean, I hope my perspective is
Like when we are intellectually thinking or when we are meditating, it is not clear. We are able to understand honestly. But when we are practically interacting with people, the raga, dvesham and all which keeps on coming, that moment it is very difficult to apply this knowledge. I think people need a lot of practice, and on the manasila it has to, subconscious minded deeply it has to go and register. Only then we will be able to put it in the transactional level.
So how do we register in the subconscious mind? What is the technique we can use?
That is only through Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, meditation, Upasana and all, and Nishkamya, Seva, Karma Yoga to start with. So which leads to Chitta Shuddhi and all those steps which we already went through. But
But I think once it has got kind of assimilated, once you've understood that this is, and you have that Shraddha in it, and you have the complete faith in it, even when you're interacting, and even if you, for a second, maybe if you feel that, whatever be it, you're being taken for granted or it's not right or whatever. But after a moment, if this has truly assimilated, I think you would just let go and just move on.
One of the things psychologically is self-talk, what we call affirmation. Because what goes in the subconscious comes out without you knowing. So, and constantly there is a inside self-talk that's going on, groaning. And typically it tends to fall back on what is already existing in the subconscious. So that has to be replaced by something else, which is more positive. So in our scriptures, we call it Pratikratma Bhavana. It means you cannot get rid of it, but you're going to replace it with something more positive. So affirmations make a big difference. So when you're reading, you write notes and then keep repeating, maybe early morning. Early morning is the best when you wake up, because the alpha waves in the brain are at the time, you're not fully awake, you're not fully asleep yet. So there is a tendency that what you say can go directly into the subconscious. That's the time when it is a little open for you to push things inside. So self-talk helps a lot. And that's why Guruji insists on what he writes as RRE, repeat, recall and enjoy. But which, if you look at the Kumon method which they use for children, what do? They keep on repeating the same thing till it becomes into the subconscious, then it's a habit. So that's one way of doing it. So as you read and as you come across the Shravana Mananam, write notes, because writing notes makes a huge difference. And the other thing, there's a great book on how to assimilate things. It's called No Can Do. It's by one chap called Kenneth Blanchard. So some of the techniques he uses is, one, he says less is more. If you tend to focus on too many things, you will get lost. What 2.41 talks about, the buddhi which is very focused. So if you focus on less things and try and assimilate it, it's easier rather than trying to spread it too much. The second thing is the attitude with which you look at it. Again, we spoke a lot last week when you described the different attitudes we should have. The attitude which is positive, which is trusting, which is full of faith, makes a huge difference when you approach these things. because if it is negative, you tend to put a filter around it and ignore it. If it's positive, start looking for the good in things rather than looking for the negative things. So these are two ways, and then repetition again and again.
Mahaprabhu says one other technique. Actually, basically, he says that before you go to bed, just write a diary of all the things that you have done wrong today. Then repent for it and then go to bed. So that when you put it in writing, you know exactly what you have wrong you've done, and you will be able to accept. And then once you accept it, then it becomes. If you are actually in this path, then you will truly repent. And then the next time it wouldn't happen.
I think even at workplace also, like self-reflection is always very important to do anything effectively. So at night and evening, that's a good way.
And then,
Journaling is
journaling.
extremely important.
And then, of course, I mean, Umkarnanda in one of his lectures also said that at the end of the night, when you go to, before you go to sleep, you say, Yajjat karomi takilam sambodha avaradhanam, or Kayan Vachamana says, and then make sure that you give it to God and you don't sleep with any worry. And then in the morning, you take a sankalpa that you are doing everything for God. So every time before you start any work, you keep taking sankalpa that you are starting for, you are doing it for God. That way you will tend to avoid all this.
I'm rediscovering this pink.
Before Raviji comes here, getting into action.
The points which you made, I think that can do.
Yeah, no kidding.
Actually, it is. I'll just read this because it makes perfect sense with respect to.
In fact, Swamiji always talks about affirmations.
So this is in the chapter 5, which is Vipassana Yoga. This is mental discipline. Finally comes mental discipline, which is the most important one. In this, we take care of several aspects of the mind. There are 4 aspects of the mind to be taken care of for mental discipline. The first is relaxation. Because mind should enjoy relaxation. Nowadays, everybody is thinking of talking of stressful life and stress-free life. There is also a lot of stress in our present-day life. A relaxed mind alone can accomplish anything in life, whether it is spiritual or material accomplishment. So first is relaxation. Second is concentration. So concentration is mind should have the capacity to focus, which is what you said now. The third is expansion, which is or accommodation. And the fourth is refinement or cultivation of ethical values. So he has beautifully, this is, I think, exactly what you're saying in the book and also
he's given a talk on meditation. So these are the 4 techniques he uses. 4 different kinds of meditation.
Right, the relaxation meditation, the concentration meditation, the expansion meditation.
And then in that he gives guided thanks. To rediscover the people.
I have a slightly different view. The root cause to all this is, you call it upbringing or you call it the way of life. We have been brought up in a situation of self-importance. Yes. You cannot deny that. Oh, I am not important here. That's
the ego.
That is there, very, very grounded. That's a fact. And it could be even the competitive way we have been brought up. See, unknowingly our parents say, okay, hey, you first one no, third one no. So, but then that advice is more for you to be progressive. But then I think that is, these things all lead to pile up. Okay, the self-importance, ego is right and right. In fact, yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody. When I have Ramana book, he said, made a statement. He said, I don't think Ramana has given practical things for the last month. So I said, what do you mean? He said, nowadays I do a lot of meditation. So okay, I understand what Ramana is saying. I mean, realize where is yourself and all that. Okay, fine. I'm able to do meditation. I will do. But once I come out of that meditation or come out of that room and go to the real life, then once I go there, I forget everything. We forget everything because our self-importance comes there. Without we even knowing that comes as primary. So I think the opposite of all that is we need to, at least for me, what works is like whatever Balaji also said, is you are basically negating the self-importance by saying everything I'm doing is for the Lord. And whatever I did good things at the end of the day, you are saying, Adu enakku vendam. It's all negating your ego in an indirect way. And there's another way to say it actually. What's the worst thing that can happen to me? Nothing. Nothing. What is the worst thing? Okay, fine. Back up, go back to India. No issues. Rent pay for just we'll figure it out. So that's the point I'm saying. I mean, so all this is yes.
Tools.
But consciously,
what
you have
to
to
you to
you have to judge yourself. Okay, how much is my ego playing?
Which is always there. Everybody has. I'll give you an example. Benjamin Franklin, the president who wrote the Constitution for the United States. Now he was journaling every day, and exactly like what Bhagavad was saying. He, at the age of 22, decided that I will look at 13 things, attributes that I want to do to improve my character. And he says 13. So in a year, he will cover 13. In a year, he will do the whole thing 4 times. So 1 week, one particular attribute. And then what he does at the end of the day, he thinks of how many times he was able to meet it, how many times he was not able to meet it. For example, pride, or humility, or thrift. So he did that. So in his autobiography, which he wrote when he was about 78 years old. So he's been practicing from 22 all the way up to 78. He says that he was able to take care of most of it. The only one that his people gave him feedback was his pride and ego has not gone. He is being very candid. He is very intelligent. So it takes a lot of effort. So one of the satsangs we had, which Sriniji had done, some of you have met Sriniji, he was asking what is the role of the guru. So many people said teachers, because scriptures are very confusing and all sorts of things. So ultimately he said the role of the guru is to demolish your ego, because that's the only thing that stands between you and self-realization. So all the guru does is he finds out ways and means of demolishing the ego. And I have got many friends in the Satya Sai Baba who used to be there at Puttaparthi in those days, and he was saying Baba will sometimes ignore you totally. Some students who feel very proud, because he says sometimes the pride comes, he knows, and then he knows you because he wants to get rid of your. So he says, "I crush you like a crushed stone," and then you believe on me.
But being more on this path also, when we are interacting, even when the pride comes, immediately you can realize that as well. You can see that coming, isn't it? Being more.
99 out of 100, all problems are because of that.
We know
not 100 out of 100.
it happens, yeah.
So Swamiji uses FIR, right? So you can use that technique. How soon you can recover? So as the more you progress on the path, hopefully you will recover faster.
Yeah.
But in the long run, whether it makes sense, that's what we need to ask. The other attribute I took personally for me was the Sakshi Bhava. Which is effective things is if you take yourself out of the scene and look at it impersonally, as if they say like a fly on the wall or something like that, and sometimes putting yourself in the other person's shoes also makes it very different. Then you start thinking of different perspectives. Okay. We were discussing the verses 4 to 10, the attributes of Brahman. So you can call it attributes, characteristics. So they had done an exercise and listed out everything, and then Rajikaji was supposed to, if you personalize it, how do you apply it? Discussing what point. Okay, so now we'll move on. So we went to verse 11. We'll just do a quick recap. What was important about verse 11? What did you all understand from there?
As long as you are looking at the limited form of God, you miss the whole point.
Okay. So what the Lord says is,
You don't take refuge in
Pardon?
It's a cause of bondage. You
Yeah.
don't take refuge in him.
So what's the corollary to that? As long as you look at the limited thing, what happens? Discussed last time, or you crave for material things, you crave for things,
Sakama.
yes, and which have an end. So you miss out the most important one, which is going after the infinite. You miss out that. So that is so. What he says here is this is a proposition. This is a problem that I'm saying. And if you recollect, we discussed what Swami Paramatmananda has so beautifully pointed out that we have three things to remember. One is the Jnana Shakti, one is the Ichha Shakti, and the third one is Kriya Shakti. So, if you have the knowledge, then the desire comes, and then it leads to action. So, his point there was the knowledge that we have should be the right knowledge, so that the action can be right. So, if the knowledge is faulty, then the action also will be faulty. So everything that we're doing, everything that we're reading is for us to understand what that right knowledge is, so that that translates into the right action. And then from 10, which is what we call a problem statement, we looked at the attitudes of different people towards this whole thing. And 11 spoke about that. 12 spoke about the attitudes of people who are Rajasic and Rakshasic, right? So what did you remember from that verse? From 12.
We are not able to discriminate between what is Nityam and Anityam.
Okay. What are the different things he talked about? Moha, Asha, right?
Yeah, vain hopes.
Again, that knowledge is futile. The same thing.
Yeah.
We are
Then Karmana also, Moha Karmana. Mean
Action.
actions.
And futile knowledge.
Yeah. Ichetasaha is what you spoke about earlier. That you're not able to distinguish the Viveka Bhuti is not there. So here he talks about the gunas, and he said that the way you look at things, your perspective is determined by your gunas. And we have three: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. So here predominantly he talks about those who have rajasic and tamasic gunas and say, the matter being the same, you look at it differently. And because the way you look at it, your actions and the knowledge, everything is faulty. So then as a contrast, we went to the next verse, which was 13, where he talks about Mahatmas. So this is the Sattvic, because he's talking about Devi Prakriti. Who's Devi, right? And that he translates as Sattvic in nature. And then we discussed, typically Mahatma means the attributes of a saint, who can be called a Mahatma, you asked for Jnani and Mahatma. I think we have Jnani as the ideal. So,
yeah, the age 50
Yeah.
Mahatma is there.
correct.
I mean, same meaning also different.
Yeah, carry on, tell us. What did you find?
8, 15. Mahatma, Nakuvanti Mahatma.
Mahatma na apnu. They don't get into this.
Yeah, vice men.
So almost same meaning.
Yeah.
There's no more.
Some said this Paramam.
Paramaham.
Because they
So
know.
they don't. Yeah, they don't
get into this.
Get into this cycle of suffering.
Dukkala.
So
Maybe there also is speaking about Asura.
the previous one, yeah, same. You will find again. I talked about repeat, right? Repeat.
Asuram,
because
Mura and all same words.
it's coming again and again.
Yeah.
In chapter 14, the gunas will be described in detail, and then 17 and 18 we will talk about if it's food or tapas or dhanam, what is sattvic, what is rajasic, what is just a roadmap or guide for us. Okay, so that's where we left, right? 13. We have to start with 14. Can we do 15 first, then we go back to 14? Because 14, there are lots of points of discussion. Yeah?
ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्येन यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम् ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्येन यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्.
Others again who offer wisdom, sacrifice to me, worship me, the all-inclusive whole, all formed as the one and as the immanent in all.
What does it mean? Quite a mouthful.
So high-sounding words.
Yeah, he always uses so. Okay, go to Swami Karmasananda who simplified everything. So what he is saying is, this is basically talking about this chart that Raviji had given. I know most of you will have it. Huh?
Yeah.
Correct. So this is the way he has interpreted it, which is different from some of the other commentators. Is talks about the three levels of bhakti. So let's go through the meaning, then we can link it back to this. So yajantaha, so worshipping, jnana yajnana, through jnana yajna, which basically chapter 4 talked about all about jnana, right? Then anye cha api, some others. So he's talking about different types of people. Upasate mam, so they think of me. So let's see how they think of me. So bahuda. So bahuda means they worship me in different ways. So the three ways he is given is Prutakvena. So Prutakvena means the second word in the second different from you. So if you look at that and you look at this chart, it's basically the Dvaita, where you take God as a separate being, we as a separate being, and totally distinct from each other. And the second one is Ekatvena. So this is basically Advaita, because you're looking at God as identical one. So we and God are one, which is what Raviji has explained as stage 3. This is what we are pursuing. God is Arupa. And then Vishwatho Mukham is somebody where the mouth is everywhere. God everywhere. That means you see God everywhere. Which is basically the Vishwarupa or Aneka Rupa, they are saying. Which is the Vishishta.
Ekatvena, there are three types of it. Ekatvena is about the Ekarupa Upasana. The human form, Rama, Krishna, and Bhagavad. That is the one.
That means you are separate.
Separate. I am different.
Then Dvaita. God is separate, I am separate. That's what he said.
Ekatvena வந்து identical தான். Ekatvena வந்து
Ekatvena is identical. Sorry.
Ekatvena identical தான். Identical தான். I am not different from God.
That is what I am different.
I am
Not different. Yeah, we are both one.
Non-dual.
So Ramakrishna are not
It's
different.
like not about Ekarupa Upasana. Ishtadeva Upasana, நான் கேட்ட மாதிரி எனக்கு
That one will come as
What you are saying.
no. Prutakvena is
Prutakvena தான் வந்து
Prutakvena.
Prutakvena தான் வந்து God is multiple. There are multiple gods, and I have my own God. I even don't see. I see individual gods. So basically, Rama is different from Krishna. Is different from Prutakvena.
Vishwatho
Vishwatho-
Aneka Rupa.
ஒரே
Vishwarupa.
no. The word Eka is the one.
Yeah, I can understand.
So it's one. So that was the Advaita is all about.
Ekatvam nachanale, we are one. Ekatvam.
இல்ல அது ஏக ரூப உபாசனான்னு சொல்லி.
I am talking about Ishtadevata Upasana இருக்கு இல்லையா, அது ஒண்ணு. அப்புறம் விஸ்வத்தோமுகம் அந்த ஞானத்துல like me and God அந்த மாதிரி மூணு பார்த்த மாதிரி.
So the Jnana, what is the one, that word which will describe them?
That was like ஞான யஜ்ஞேன சாப்பியேன.
That's the first line.
That is sadhana. ஞான யஜ்ஞேன.
Through that process.
Through that process. ஏகத்வேன.
அப்பதான் ரெண்டு நாள் பேசிட்டாங்க.
இல்லையே மூணு ஏகத்வேன
Bahuda Vishwatoma.
இல்ல
Vishwa means the world, right? The universe. So mouth everywhere means God. God is everywhere. Faces everywhere.
But it is still saguna. You still see God as different from. You see this is essentially one God, but you are still. I am different from still God.
That's why Raviji calls it Vishishta Dvaita.
Vishishta Advaitam comes in.
We are one part of God, Amsham
Amsham of God.
God, right? So here, if you look at the chart, at stage 1, which is Dvaita, progressively, God is Eka Rupaha. So you have a Ishta Devata, God is separate, we are separate. We follow that. And God has created the world and He is the intelligent cause of creation. So distinct form, distinct name, all that comes in. Then we go to the stage 2. So that is the Manda Adhikari, as Raghu is explaining. The second one is the Madhyama Adhikari, the middle stage, which is Vishishta Dvaita. God is Vishwarupaha or God is Anekarupaha. God is intelligent as well as the material cause for creation. And God has become the world. And there we have different names, but we all realize that it's all the same. It's all part of the same. The third one is the Ekatvam, which is the Uttamadhikari, Advaita, where God is Arupaha. That's the different characteristics of Brahman that we talked about in verses 4 to 10, in chapter 2, and throughout. So God appears in the world, and there we look at the Jiva Ishvara Aikyam.
Yes.
So that's where Raviji actually wanted to introduce this. We went on vacation because he's telling all along. We come to chapter 9, so probably it was a test for me to see which verse to use.
So we have to progress. What it says is basically we have to progress from Pratak Vena to Vishwatomukam to Ekat.
Levels. So Swami Paramathananda concludes that when they are all reading Gita and in it, going through the Shravanam Mananam, we are in the middle stage. So since we are all in the Madhyama stage. Vishwatomukam. That's what he is concluded. That's how Lord Krishna concludes. We are in that. Okay, then we will go back now to 14. Okay. So this is basically talking about the 3 types of bhakti and how we have to progress from one to another. So let's go back to 14. 14 is actually reads from 13, because 13 we talked about the Mahatmas who are constantly facing God and they know the reality. So 14, it can give a lot of discussion because it says what are the different ways in which you can know God or worship Him. Let's do that.
Satatam kirtayanto mam yadantascha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate satatam kirtayanto mam yadantascha dridhavrataah namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate.
Strenuous and steadfast in their vows, these ever-integrated devotees worship me with devotion, always singing my glories and prostrating before me.
So again, if you look at it, it's a continuation from 13, because he's saying these ever-integrated devotees. So he's now explaining the Mahatmas, what is their perspective and how they will relate to God. Let's go through the meanings. So Satatam Kirtayantam. Kirtayantam is Kirtana. Satatam is always, constantly. So constantly praising me. Later, what is Kirtana? It can be different. It doesn't mean just the singing, it can be many forms. Mam, which is me. Cha Yatantaha. Yatanta means striving, making effort. And this word has come up many times throughout, especially chapter 6, the striving that we do. Dhrida Vrataha. Vrata means vow or taking a resolution, and Dhrida means firm. So constantly praising me and striving with the firm resolve. Cha Namasyantaha Mam. Now Namasyantaha comes from Namaste. Bowing, prostrating, taking refuge. So we can discuss what are the different ways. Bhaktya, with devotion. Nitya Yuktaha. Yukta means steadfast. So totally steadfast in what we are doing, connected, different meanings. Nitya is always. Upasate, worship me. So here he has given the different steps which the bhaktas will take, which the Mahatmas will take, to remember God, to devote themselves to God, to worship God. And again, is needed. Why? Because we talk.
Again, here this is Karuna Upasana, right? Karuna Nishkama Upasana.
Not, no, you have to first see, once you know God and you have the jnanam, then you can, that's why next verse says, by knowing this, you can branch off in any of these ways. But if you don't have the refinement, exactly, you don't have the refined mind like Ravi says, it will be difficult for you to go to the last Advaita stage. Because you cannot conceive anything which doesn't have attitude to change. In the previous verse it says, right, incomprehensible. So you cannot relate to it. That's why you have to go through the stages. So here, these are the different sadhanas one can do to know God. So let's see the first sadhana, Kirtana. What does typically meant by Kirtana, and what are the other things we can think of as far as Kirtana is concerned?
Chanting is glorious.
Talking about what
It is
else?
one of the 9 forms of bhakti.
Hmm.
Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam,
So it's there.
Pada Sevanam.
You take Swami Tapasyananda.
Finally, sir,
No, Saki,
Sakyam, Vandanam, Dasyam.
Dasyam. If you look at the notes here, he's given the various ways.
Chapter 9 notes.
Notes, because it comes from Bhagavatam,
It is
page 251.
Prahlada says this.
Prahlada.
Prahlada says
Yeah.
this 9 forms of bhakti.
9 forms.
In actually, I saw in Narada Bhakti Sutra 11 forms. But anyway, so you look at page 251, it talks about the 9 steps that Balaji is saying. Shravanam,
Shravanam, Kirtanam,
Kirtanam.
Vishnu Smaranam,
Smaranam, Padaseva, 251.
Archanam, Dasyam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam,
Right.
Sakyam, Atmanivedam.
So Atma Nivedanam is described as complete surrender.
So that is the final.
So Swami Chinmayananda says Kirtanam doesn't mean just singing loudly and all that. The bhava will be there, because you look like Bombay or local trains, the long distance one to Kasara. You will find a place and sit down and start and then they'll start the bhajans. I mean, they are all devout. I don't know if he's saying it. But what he's saying is, it's not just talking, it's also praising the Lord, also sitting down and writing a reflection. The more you think of him, discussing, and then participating in satsangs. Again and again, you will see, especially in Bhagavatam, the importance of satsang. It has come up again and again. And I saw a verse in Bhaja Govinda.
Satsang Patre
Sangat.
Shankaracharya Satsangatve, Nirsangatve, Nirsangatve, Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatvam mein Nishchalata, Jivan.
So it is, if you recollect chapter 2, 62 and 63, talk about the downfall, the vicious cycle which goes on. If you recollect, you see, talk about the desire coming in, and then the desire getting thwarted, and then it leads to anger. Through anger, you start losing your sense of perspective, you start forgetting things.
Second chapter.
Second chapter, 62, 68.
8 steps of downfall.
So I treat this one in Bhaja Govindam as the other opposite, the virtuous cycle which takes you up. Because what he basically stresses is satsang is association with good people, like-minded people, with the Mahatmas that we are talking about. So once you have that, in that process, your lifestyle changes. You start refining, your company changes, your habits change, and that starts pushing you up. And once it starts pushing you up, the opposite happens. Whereas in the downfall, the desire gets stronger and stronger. Here, the desire gets weaker and weaker. It gets replaced by a desire to know God, to do all the spiritual path. So that's where the importance of satsang.
Initially, we will not be able to take out desires from mind. So it is better to replace a bad desire with a good desire.
So satsang will help.
Yeah,
Because
satsang.
you talk about it and
One kirtanam which strikes me from Bhagavatam is that of a personality called Akruran. I don't know if you know the story.
one Kamsa sent to.
Yeah.
He was actually working for Kamsa. He always wanted to, see Krishna and be with him. He incidentally is sent by Kamsa to fetch Krishna from was it from, I don't know, Dwaraka, where he's with
Not
the
Dwaraka.
gopis, Vrindavan. So he goes and takes Krishna,
And
and
Balarama.
before he goes in Vrindavan, there's so many amount of stuti which is associated with it, where he goes and first thing what it, as soon as he reaches Vrindavan, he lies on the ground and takes the the
Mud.
soil, the mud, and prays. And he says that how he looks at the grass which is there in Vrindavan and says how lucky you are to basically grow over here. And when he's doing that, Krishna appears in front of him, and Krishna simply lifts him and embraces. That's the thing. And even while he's taking Krishna and Balarama back to Kamsa, on the way they do this Sandhyavandanam, and there is a river, and he goes inside the river to take a dip, and inside he sees Mahavishnu as Krishna, and then he comes out and he sees Krishna again. So the bhakti that is there of Akrura is very unique. It was, he had waited apparently for about 20 years or more than that to to just be with the Lord. So that's also a kind of kirtan, constant remembrance and the longing to be one with him. It's
That is
amazing.
actually it's called Smaranam. But
Smaranam.
anyway, Kirtanam is chanting. Smaranam is constant remembrance.
That comes from the last one, the Upasati worship in different kinds. So while thinking all the time, it leads to the Smarana. Right? It leads to that. And then we saw the Vridavrataha. Again, what came to my mind was
One
again,
important thing, Kirtanam, is I think you have to know the meaning and do the Kirtan. Nowadays, most people are just doing
It's not just only sound bites.
That's very important.
Initially, to start off,
Then
this,
you know.
you at least chant the Lord's name and glory without understanding, you will still get punya.
Yeah,
So
because
I
in one
feel that if you know the meaning, you'll be able
more
to
effective.
Yeah, more
chant it better.
That's it. But it takes time. So like in childhood, we teach all the slokas, but we don't know the meaning at that time.
Easier to remember.
That's not how you put it. So this chart, again, Ravini's first chart, talks about where he says that we have to strive and with a firm resolve, because there will be setbacks all along the way, and that's why it's a long process. And if you look at the definition Swami Paramathananda has given, it is consistent and systematic study of scriptures for a length of time. So under a competent guru. It means that one, you have to be consistent. Secondly, it has to be systematic. We talked about it. We cannot be jumping from one to another. And third, for a long, extended period of time, it cannot be just a flash in the pan. You do something, then after some months come back again, it won't help. So that's why here he's stressing Yakantaha and he's stressing the Dhridavrataha, because both mean striving constantly and also doing it with determination and priti. So this chart keeps coming up again and again in my mind. So Swami Chinmayananda says that here you are looking at 3 levels. Now when you say surrendering to Namasyantaha, prostrating, it is basically seeking refuge, the surrender that we talked about. So here your kaya comes in, your body comes in. And then we talked about the Kirtayantaha, we talk about it all the time. And thirdly, Upasate is the Smarana, the thinking about it. So you are engaging all these things in constant devotion.
Maika, Vachika, Manasa.
All three. So that's what this the verse talks about. And I want to read something from here which Guruji had said. Page 48. If somebody has others, I'll just read it here.
154.
Now, Guruji had said, page 48, the previous verse 266 talks, one who is not connected to God does not have a focused intellect nor contemplation. Without contemplation, there is no peace. How can the person be happy? So he's saying here, his purport reads, it shows the importance of connecting ourselves to God. So these are the different ways we talked about connecting to God. So he's talking about daily bhajans, daily prayers, food, flour, water, milk offered to the Lord, chanting verses while doing work, while doing household work, while taking bath, the early morning chants and night time, of scriptures. And then for jnana-oriented devotees, in addition to the above, reading, reflecting together with actions in society, keeping the Lord in mind. Like what you were talking about, keeping the Ishwaratma in Sadhguru. Dedicated regular reading of scriptures and witnessing one's own behavior, thought and thought. And that's why the Sakshi Buddhi comes in. Because if you're able to detach yourself and watch what's happened, you will get more insights into how you're behaving rather than just rushing into the actions. He says rituals are necessary and do serve some purpose. But to your point, just mere rituals without understanding or having the knowledge is not going to be helpful. So he's basically covered everything that we were talking about. So that's why I said this verse can talk about.
On that same point, when Bhagavad says that even if you don't understand,
Don't give up.
Don't give up first.
That's worse.
Like they say, training, they always use this example in HR. It says it's so costly. You train a person and he gets all the knowledge. Then he leaves the company. So the CEO's rejoinder to that is, if you don't train the person and he stays in the company, incompetent as he is, what is going to happen to our company? So it's better to train, at least he'll give some benefit rather than not train at all. So budget's always cut right. So anything else? Anyone wants to share? What are the other different ways in which we can worship, devote, think of God?
One thing which I feel is that personal reflection. I tend to do many of these things, but in bits and pieces. Sometimes it is
No consistency.
yeah. No consistency. Like for example,
No one method.
No one method, and it depends on my mood more than anything else. Sometimes when you're traveling in a plane, you feel like watching the in-flight entertainment. But sometimes you feel, okay, let's hear some good song, then Bollywood or whatever. Sometimes you feel you need to read. You feel like reading a scripture. So it depends on.
As I said, each one they have their own ways.
Mind brings variety. So it's okay. As long as as long as the path is the same and you're not deviating, it's fine. Because mind needs variety. Not everybody or not every time you can actually sit and read through scriptures or listen to scriptures. So you need some variety. So you can actually, that's why the 9 forms of bhakti comes into play. Because not every time you will be always willing to chant. Sometimes you want to read. Sometimes you want to listen. You want to sometimes only think. So the 9 forms of bhakti is fun.
So I say, using the American cliche, cookie cutter. This is not a cookie cutter. Right?
In Ganesha temple, if you go, they do that 108 production. So that is like body, they do. So body, prayer, mind, they're all what we said, kaika, vachika, manasika. Any option, anything can be done, or anything.
So the mind has to be engaged in that.
Yeah.
If you're doing your frustration,
Definitely
thinking
when
of
you're
something
doing
else.
that, you can't, it's very difficult to think about other things because everybody is in that mode. So your mind automatically thinks about all the slogans. So mind as well as body, everything is
Yeah, but there is also another thing which is happening. Again, personal reflection. Some days, initially I used to really go and like to the Shivan temple. Used to go on early morning when they open the and you see basically the Shivalinga, and then they start chanting and so on and so forth. And they put all this water and milk and other things. It was so beautiful. I used to enjoy it. But after some time, started, how much milk are they wasting? Even even within one particular kriya, at one point of time, what I used to enjoy, I was contributing to that waste also. And now after some time, I was considering that as a waste. But now again, back when I read all these things, is it really a waste? So the the same thing which I used to like, then I had to question and doubt, and then again back, and now there is an amount of indifference associated with it. If it is there, it's there. It's not there, it's there. It's not there. I'm not really affected by it, but if it is beautiful, let me just enjoy it for the moment and just leave it. That's where I am now. I don't know how I will go forward. There is an amount of change also happening within particular kind of
So
process.
it all depends on the environment, the stress that you're going through at that moment. Like for me, in a plane, because there's nothing under your control, you're like, you're in the hands of a Sarathi. You just let go. So I don't watch movies on there, I just read. Maybe to your point, I read different things. If I never watch movies, songs, you're fond of old songs, I don't watch these things. Because you're totally relaxed. I find the plane journeys to be the best for me. Because I can sleep also. And then the long flights, you can do a lot of things. You can read, you can write. And to your point, as you start reflecting, the refinement takes place. That's why the Shravanam has to be followed by Mananam. Then only the brain. Otherwise, you'll be just, like a conveyor belt and the same thing again and again.
Yeah, but personally, what has happened to me these days is I'm less judgmental. Previously, there's this is right, this is wrong. This is nice, then this is right.
Raga
This is wrong.
Dvesha is reducing. The impact
Yeah,
is
but then
reducing.
now it doesn't matter. It's neither right nor wrong. It depends on who wants to do what.
So to your point, I had done some research in psychology. It was one of my favorite subjects. What happens when you pray? What happens when you meditate? Because the mind as such, nobody can tell you where the mind is, right? You can only say where the brain is, because that's an organ. The mind is just something which is there. So the brain by itself, without becoming too technical, is divided into different lobes. Some of them go back to the very primitive ones where you rush into action. And that's where a lot of subconscious takes place. It's all predetermined things which are recorded over the lifetime. The more recent evolution is the cognitive part, the fun part of the brain, which is the one that thinks. And our scriptures always say that focus more on the cognitive part. Think, reflect. The Mananam part.
Especially Dayananda, when he speeches, he
Always.
always talks about cognitive understanding of the scriptures is the way to get jnana.
To assimilate.
Yeah, to assimilate, to get the conviction, so to speak.
Because if you don't see the value, you will not do it, right? So he says the example he gives is like taking drinks, tea or coffee, and having sugar. So unless you drop it in, stir it, and it gets assimilated. Similarly, all that you are learning has to get assimilated. In a wonderful book called Values.
Value of values.
Value of values. Right? About chapter 13. So what happens to the brain? So this research has shown that by doing all these things that we are talking about, there is a change in the brain. Till about 50 years ago, we used to think that the structure of the brain as you grow older cannot change. But then they came across a concept called neuroplasticity. That means the brain is capable of changing structure. And the example they always use is London cab drivers. Because London is such an old city, and it's got so many nooks and corners and all that, it's very difficult to put it on a map. So if you want to go and start driving taxi, which a lot of people will say after retirement, at that age, you have to learn the entire topography by heart. And they have done scans of such drivers and found out that before, when they started the job, and once they started worked on the job and started assimilating all this topography knowledge, that part of the brain, which is the cognitive part, the spatial part, has expanded. So the conclusion is that the brain is capable of growing at any point in time. Age is no barrier. So the research shows that when you do all those things, there is the change which happens. There are some circuits that get activated and some circuits that go into the background. The brain becomes more sensitive to subtleties. It was not so perceptible because it was subtle. Now you become more perceptive. Because you become more sensitive to what's going on around you. Then the perceptions change. So God as seen earlier and God as seen now, the perception changes, which we are talking about, right? We are going through the different stages. Then your physical and emotional health improves, and there is a strengthening of certain neural circuits that enhance peacefulness. So you feel more at peace. That enhances social awareness. You feel more interconnectedness with others, and the world. And that's the effect of all these things, which is what our scriptures have been driving all along. Now modern science through psychology is finding out this is really what happens to you inside. Then the fear is reduced. We talked about Vita Ragakaya Bhaya Krodha, right? Then it enhances positive emotions like love, joy, optimism, tranquility. It actually enhances. And finally, all these become an integral part of your life. So the example somebody used, what is the difference between using a Velcro and a Teflon? What's the difference? Just look at Velcro. You know what's Velcro, right?
Yeah.
And Teflon. You know what's
One stick. Now one stick.
Non-stick.
right? So negative things should be like Teflon, they roll off. Positive things should be like Velcro, they should be attached to. It's a conclusion getting. And actually Bhagavatam I found as a scripture is wonderful because it's got jnana, it's got bhakti, loads and loads of it. And of course it talks about Karma also. And chapter Skanda 11 is the most important one for us who are doing a lot of study through Advaita, because it entirely talks about the Bhagavad Gita, where all these things that we are talking about is explained more in detail. And Kapila Gita in Skanda 3, where Kapila Mahamuni talks to his mother and explains. And Swami Tejavayananda has given a wonderful small little booklet on Kapila Gita, just the essence. Someday we have the time to read. So any questions on this? This is what happened, and that's why I sent you that power of prayer, which thanks to you.
Yeah.
I don't know how to send the PDF file in WhatsApp. My iPhone I'm not able to do. I can teach it. Because anybody had read that, I have made some notes.
Yeah.
What's your findings from that? Something that we can use. You said you read, right? I didn't ask. Something must have gone in.
The thing that stuck to me was the mobile phone battery.
Okay.
What is that?
Sorry, I
Keep
think
the
that
charge.
prayer,
We just came back.
Prayer is primarily
Yeah.
like a charger.
Yeah.
Prayer. Connect yourself.
Prayer is the
The Lord.
process.
Yeah.
What he's talking about is that in life we will come across many situations. Many of them, maybe majority of them will be unavoidable. You can't do much about it. You can only pray for strength. No point asking, resolve this and get that out of our way. May not. We had only asked for strength. But we feel weak. So he's saying like a mobile phone, which the battery needs to be recharged. So in the mobile phone, you will connect the battery through the cable to the power point. So here the source of power is the infinite Lord. So the prayer is the process that connects you. It forms a connection between the Lord and you. That's basically he's talking about that whole New Year talk about power of prayer.
And first story also I like it.
Ah,
The young
you
age.
remember. Yeah, so what does it say? It's a very important story.
That's a very good story. I told my kids also
So what did you tell them?
about that, like as
You
the
share, let everybody share.
none of you are better. Okay.
That is
So-
one hasn't read, so she will benefit by that.
Okay, so the story is about this kingdom wherein anybody can become the king. But the catch is whoever becomes the king, he can be the king for 5 years. At the end of 5 years, he has to go and live in a forest which is filled with wild animals, and he
And
cannot
once
cross the river. So basically, the gist of the story is the intelligent king sees to it that at the end of 5 years, he has another kingdom to go. He's already made it ready. So similarly, during our lifetime, like before we enter into the last Vanaprastha, or we should try and prepare our mind.
So start young. This
So
is
start
what he
young.
says is start young. Don't do it when you're old. It makes fun of it.
Just one point, not just scientifically also. I read this book called Biology of Beliefs. This is by a guy called Bruce Lipton, where he has done research to show that the functioning of the cell is affected by our thoughts. So if you take a cell alone, put it in a plate, on one side you put food, the cell will go to the food. On the other one side you put poison, it will go away from the poison. So
Instinctively it knows.
it knows every cell billions of cells in our body knows what to do. But we are the one who make it do the other way. By what is my interpretation of the situation, that sends a signal for the cell to operate in a particular way. So if I send fear, then all of them go retract. If I send positive thing, then they also react to that.
Yeah.
So
Lot of
prior-
research happen.
Huh?
I think a lot of
Even
research has
water
happened on that.
will
Yeah,
give
right.
us
Even
a
water, the
water
molecule
molecules
structure
structure
changes depending on the
Plants.
environment.
Exactly.
Plants.
All points with that. So
Molecules.
now when you connect the prayers, moments that positivity increases, your
Plants
body also responds.
Plants also.
So your body becomes charged, as he says, with all the positive things. In fact, he uses CCC, calm and
Calm,
Huh?
confident, cheers. Calm, confident, and cheers.
to get rid of DDDD. You know that? Despair, dejection, disillusionment, and depression. Eating. So there's a lot of value in that. I mean, we may do it blindly, but if you now do it with all the knowledge that we have, it makes a huge difference. So writing off rituals is near, like what we say, it's a useless thing. I would say, right? It's better to know the value of the rituals and then do it, perform it with power. And of course, ultimately getting it.
Don't write off and also don't get stuck with it.
Exactly. But we should know when to let go. Your pole vault, right?
Now, our own ritual is after sannyasam, no sannyasam.
Yeah.
But then even for there also Lokasangra, as part of Lokasangra, the Jnani will continue to perform rituals
So that
the others do not get
That is
confusion.
fine. My point is, in your mind, I used
But as I say, if you want,
attached to it at the point.
Right. See,
So that is what Puranjanopakyanam, the guy is so attached to rituals, he's not able to come out of it. And Narada has to literally
shock him.
shock him out of it.
What does he do? He's so many long line of ants, is it?
No. He's
The
this
animals
guy called
waiting to-
Puranjanan, who was an expert in doing all Vedic kriyas. And he
Which had
kills a lot of
sacrifices.
animal sacrifices. So Narada takes him to the veranda and shows him a lot of red raging bulls, with huge horns and red eyes. So he's asking, what are these? So these are all the animals that you have killed in the sacrifice. They're waiting for you to come down. And that's how he explains the story of Puranjanopakyan, the story of, 5-footed snake protecting. It's a very beautiful story that we can do it
Bhagavatam
sometime later.
itself is
It's
endless.
awesome.
So coming back to all the points we discussed, I go back to Stephen Covey. He says habit one. Habit one is being proactive. What he defines it is between the stimulus, something that is wrong, and the response, introduce a pause. Freedom to choose, right? So introduce a pause. So don't rush into action. And if you want to pause at that time, a few things you can do. Rhyme with P. One is you can ponder. First pause and then ponder. Like you can pray and ask for guidance. And then you can progress into action. So before acting, if you do all these things, probably you may still take the same action, but now it's a considered action. So you thought about it and decided this is the way I do it.
It's not a reaction.
It's not a reaction. That's what he needs to avoid. So there's a lot of study, like you said, in all these things. There are tons and tons of books written on all this. And mindfulness is what they prescribe. Basically, mindfulness is becoming aware at this moment where your mind is. So the easiest way is every 1 hour you pause and ask yourself, where is your mind? Then you will know, is it
This is some
wandering?
concept.
Yeah. But it's now crept into US and Western in a very big way. But nothing to do with Buddhism per se.
Yeah, it's power of now.
Yeah, power of now.
Just being present.
Just becoming aware of the present moment. So from time to time you ask yourself.
No point worrying about the past, no point worrying about the future. Be in that moment.
But there is one thing which is having a conflict. We also say that this mananam and vidyasanam, it is actually going back and pondering. Right? The moment you say I'm pondering, I'm actually not in the present. No? So you have to be always in the present.
No, but you're
Actually,
in the
you're
present,
going
you're
back.
pondering about, let's say the Sakshi Bhava comes in, you should be able to ponder and look at what happened, totally detached. Then only you'll get the value.
Another thing is that here you're pondering not on the events. Only if you ponder on the events, it becomes time specific. If you are pondering on your knowledge, if you are pondering on what you have learned, it is not time specific. You are not time traveling at all. You are not going into the past or the future. It is about pondering about the knowledge that you have acquired.
But most of the time, it's about pondering about whether this action is the right action or not.
That is
And the
different.
moment
That
you
is
say-
reflection.
the
What
journal-
you said, Mananam and
journaling-
Nididhyasanam, it is not about time travel at all. It is not about. It is about pondering on the knowledge that you have gained. Of course, when you say reflection, when I said in the night diary journal that you have done, that's time travel. That's
You have to think
about
of events.
That's about going back to the events to understand what wrong or right you have done.
No, but I mean, the richness of the action that you do, even after taking a pause between a stimulus and a response, that pondering is based on events that has happened to you with specific, information, and you construct.
Yeah, you may look at, this is the way I reacted the last time.
Yeah,
This
and
time
what
I
is
may
the
do
output,
something.
and so on and so forth. So there is an element of going back into history, but then coming back to the present and then executing the stuff.
So in the
And also-
scriptural context,
Yeah.
is when you talk about Mananam, Shravanam, Nididhyasanam, it is part of the process of Jnana Yoga. That's where he qualifies it to say, this process is employed for the scriptural learnings, the Advaita learnings, the Vedanta learnings. But you can apply it in transactional way also. And that's where if you still have the emotions and everything that happened when the first incident took place, then you will not be objective about it. So if you're able to ponder detachedly, looking at it impersonally, this is what happened, what can I do differently? Maybe you'll get a different perspective.
Transaction only will reduce your aggravation.
Definitely.
Action there.
It takes some
Yeah,
time.
yeah, that's true. But still, I mean, you also look a bit into the future. If I do this particular action, in an organization, obviously there are so many factors
Variables
associated with it, right? So what is it going to change? But I think the maturity is in accepting the change.
Exactly. When
It
you
is
go
not
back to
about-
Karma Yoga, that 2.47, it says
Yeah.
outcomes
There
is
is
not
a
the
difference
answer.
between going to the past or going to the future wantedly on your own will.
Or
That
being
is
like-
okay.
Yeah.
That is being accepted. As Swami Paramathananda says, when you say worry, you worry about what has happened in the past or what will happen in the future. That happens instinctively without any control on yours. You are not going to say, as he says, at 10 o'clock to 10:30, I'm going to worry about this. Because the worry just comes to you. At 10 to 10:30, if you are actually forcefully thinking of the past and the future, you are doing a planning. For the planning, you will have to go through the past, you will have to go to the future, you will have to do it. But that, when you do it on your own, it is not instinctive, it is based on your own will that you are doing. At that point of time, the anxiety or those things don't come. Anxiety or worry comes, or fear comes, or your guilt comes only when the mind goes on its own to its past or to the future. And that is what he says has to be avoided. And that is where you have to stay in the present. If you actually take a time off to go to the past and go to the future, that is called planning.
So in Singapore, they have this anger management room. A month or 2 months ago. Yeah, because at that time you go into the room, break glasses, and do all sorts of things for half an hour just to get rid of the. They have a room.
So Swami Paramathananda, Swami Dayananda also used to say.
Especially activating control is the best way. Especially this is told to the youngsters because we have a lot of problems in this local schools where the boys gang up, especially Indian community and Malay community, they have this problem. So they call all these IAC members or members of this community centers, PRLs and all to help because school is not able to manage and they are reluctant to call police. So they call all these people to mitigate, and so the way those people behave, they are so angry that they can even kill the other person. They're at that level. So for those people who are at that stage, this going to one room and breaking things, they calm down.
Yeah. I mean, as Swami Nand also says, suppose we hate a person too much. Suppose he says, if you hate a person too much, he says, fake it to make it. He always uses fake it to make it. So he says, go and give a flower to that person every day for 48 days. Even if you hate the person, you go by 48th day, you will be able to get over your hate. Or other hand, if you are still your anger, your hate is so much, write it on a piece of paper and then tear it or burn it. I mean, those are ways to actually get it out of life.
Juggling metal, they tear that and put it in the
That is
shape, right?
Yeah, that is a way to get it out of your system. Totally.
I don't care, like the conscious or the conviction, right, will recur. Any point.
Yeah, the question is, see, what happens is,
At that time you will be okay.
no, but it is pent up emotions is the one which creates problem